Hey, YouTube family, welcome to another Kevin Strong show. I'm going to break my rule. I said I would never talk about politics, but this is going to be the exception. So, Biden has an excuse. What's yours? So, before I define what that title really means, we're going to slide over and look at one of the obvious things that he is being teased about. Full disclosure, I do not consider myself a Democrat or a Republican. You guys know I'm famous for saying push away the left and push away the right, and everything will be all right. But I think there's an underlining message behind what's happening to him that applies to a lot of us that we don't realize. So it's easy to highlight somebody else's decline, but we're so quick to not see it when it's happening to us. So if you're new to the show, welcome. Start off by thinking about hitting that subscribe button and the like button. So without further ado, we're going to slide over here to this little gaffe that was done by President Joe Biden, and then I'll explain to you my underlining meaning behind the title. Biden has an excuse. What's yours? I think you're going to find this very interesting. Hopefully, you guys find this very thought-provoking and be able to self-reflect and maybe look at this as a learning experience for all involved.
Russia will not prevail in this war. Ukraine will prevail in this war, and we'll stand with them every single step of the way. That's what the compact says, loudly and clearly. And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky.
Okay. We all have seen this. If you haven't seen it, it's funny, but it's not. The guy clearly should not be in office. One of the shocking things about that, not to mention all the other stuff as being reported, is that the media has been covering this stuff up. This is not something that happened overnight, right? It's like being 80 pounds overweight on Friday, and then by Monday saying, hey, I'm going to be on the cover of Fitness and Health. It just doesn't work that way. So they've been lying to us, have been hiding this stuff from us, and now it's on display for not only for us in America, but for the world internationally to see. So here's my point about the situation about Biden as an excuse. What's yours? He's clearly in declining health. He has cognitive dissonance, but a lot of us have the same symptoms, just in other aspects of our lives. But we conveniently forget to see that because his excuse is probably old age. So let me go over a couple of examples that apply to a lot of us, regardless of our age. And we can't say I'm in my 80s and this is the reason why I have cognitive dissonance, or he could be having who knows what he has. You guys know I'm a big advocate about health. We all know how important health is, right? You have people who are smoking cigarettes, know that it causes cancer, but they say it's too difficult to quit, so they continue to smoke. But on the other side of the illogical part of their brain, they'll tell you that they want to live longer because they care about their wife, they care about their children, they care about their grandkids, but yet still they're saying that this vice, this smoking device that they have is so toxic, it's so addictive that they can't break it, despite it could be taking years off their life from all of these people who they claim that they mean so much to them. So you are making a choice. Financial security. You guys know I've talked about that. How many of us have been in a situation where you say, I can't catch a break. We don't take any accountability for our actions, which is one of the signs of cognitive dissonance. Look this up. You rationalize and you justify behavior, and when someone brings it to your attention, you get very defensive, and sometimes it even escalates to the point of anger. And then you project that complacency on someone else as to say, they don't understand you. If they really cared about you, they wouldn't be coming down on you. And then they try to reverse the whole thing and basically see themselves as a victim. Some of this stuff happens in a relationship when you're in a toxic relationship, right? You know you should get out of a situation. How many times have you heard stories about the woman says, hey, I was married to this guy for 20 years. He wore my panties. He had lipstick on. He always would wear my clothes. And then all of a sudden you come home 20 years later and you find out that he's in bed with another man. And then you claim that you had no idea that this guy was bisexual. I'm not casting aspersions on anybody who is. I'm just giving you an example of a lot of times things are so self-evident. We rationalize in our mind. We know in our gut something's wrong, but we just rationalize it in a different thought. Going back real quick before I make a relationship standpoint, again, about the health point, right? It's funny how someone will say that guy or that girl is fat. But when we have a family member or a significant other, we don't see that person as being fat. Oh, she's sturdy, or she's well-built, or she's put together, or he's really stocky. You know, we have all these other terms, but when it's someone else that we don't have an emotional attachment to, then our objectivity is very clear. It's not clouded, and we can see things for what they really are. But when it applies to ourselves, we can't see it. I knew a lady once, was a multi-millionaire, and she was in a relationship. I think she was married to this person for 15 years. She said she knew within the first 2 years that it was toxic, but she stayed into it for another 13 years. I said, well, why did you stay in the marriage for so long if you knew within the first 2 years that this was the wrong person to marry? Well, I thought I could change. Well, if you thought you can change him, at what point from year 3 to the 15th year did you realize that you could no longer change him? And if you thought you could change him, then why didn't you stay in it and just ride it until the wheels fall off? Once again, cognitive dissonance. This same person, so I asked, once again, this person, multimillionaire now. I said, what would your friends say and do if everything was stripped from you and you were dirt poor and you lived in a trailer? Would they come and visit you? She told me with a very straight face, oh, absolutely not. So my reply logically was what? Hey, why would you be associated with somebody who is only dealing with you because of superficial things and social status? Her answer was basically, I don't know. I've been dealing with him for so long. This is another classic example of cognitive dissonance. And people rationalize and justify behavior. A couple of other points, and I'm going to slide over to the investment portion of this video. Only thing I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, with things like this, especially, you know, this lady I gave you an example of, is I have a famous saying is that a lot of us grow old, but very few of us grow up. Compromise is not a change in your character. It's a change in emotional growth. And this is what I mean by that. If you're in a relationship with someone, you're the guy or you're the girl, and your significant other is asking you to do something that's rational, cogent, and reasonable, and you choose not to do it, what are you signaling to that person? You don't care. There's no other way of looking about that. Let me give you an example. Let's say from a guy's standpoint, guys who are watching this video right now, let's say you're dating somebody and they were into the opera and they wanted to go to opera like every 90 days. You know, so for like say 4 times a year, they wanted you to dress up and go to an opera, and you just hated the shit. But she checked all these important boxes in your life. To me, I would argue you do it because it makes her happy, right? That's what compromise is. Compromise is not asking you to change your character. Compromise is doing something for the betterment of a relationship, whether it be at work, whether it be with friendship, or whether it be a dating relationship. People who are not growing emotionally and people who are not maturing as they get older see compromise as a revision in their character. They don't see it as, hey, this benefits both of us. Conversely, if the guy wants you to sit next to him and watch football, not every Sunday, but maybe a couple times, a couple Sundays a month, then maybe you reciprocate that as a woman and say, hey, I know that's important to him. And just by me being in his presence, he's going to appreciate that. So many people, once again, see compromise as, well, you're not going to change me. Well, you just need to accept me for who I am. How many people do you know, maybe somebody who's watching this video right now, have said that? that's a clear red flag of somebody who's probably unwilling to compromise. Because the question is not, the question should be, not is this person asking you to change? Even if they are, does that change benefit you and the person that you're involved with? And if it does, and if it's healthy and you both benefit from it, why would you push back on it? We do that at so many times, on so many occasions. So I thought this was just very interesting to say, hey, Joe Biden really has an excuse because he's old and he has all these issues going on. But what's our excuse? And I look at this as a teaching moment and be like, wait a minute, reflect and try to grow. And when somebody needs to help you, maybe you just need to accept the help and not be so quick to push somebody back, get angry, tell them that you're not going to change, because really it's the comfort level that you become accustomed to and all the people you surround yourself that enable that toxic behavior. So when you finally come across somebody that's breathing fresh air into your life, you see that as being some type of toxic environment. You don't realize that's the breath of fresh air in the environment that you've been living your whole life. That's where the toxicity is, and that's the area that you most likely need to get out of. So without further ado, we're going to stop this portion. Then I'm going to slide over, and we're going to talk about some stocks. And boy, I had one recommendation last week. I said Visa, and boy, was it wrong. This was a stinker. Last Friday, I had this thing at, I think it was at like 268. I said I might jump into it or something because I thought this thing was getting ready to pop up. It went down, all the way down to like 260. Now it looks like it's getting ready to get back in, or I should say get back in, roll back up. So this was a dud. This was a dud. A couple of stocks that I am in that I've been posting on Facebook during the week to give you guys an update. And I'll finally give you a stock that I just entered in Friday, which is yesterday. This video is being recorded on July 12th, but I entered this trade before the end of trading. So I'm in Wood. And as you see here, this thing looks like it's getting ready to pop up. Here's the red line, which is the 200-day moving average. Here is the MACD. You get confirmation that it's up. So I'm pretty confident that this is going to do well, hopefully in the near future. I took out 2 bullish option contracts on Wood. And I also talked about this one, BITO, which is a ProShare Bitcoin strategy ETF. So this thing is actually tied to the performance of Bitcoin. And I took out, I think, a couple of calls, which are bullish, basically saying that I think this thing's going to go up. I'm a little bit early, but I think my options do not expire until like August 16th. So I jumped on this kind of early. So I'm going to probably lose a little time decay, but I'm hoping to make it up probably on the latter half of that contract when there's about 2 weeks left. That is going to make up for the theta decay that I'm losing by maybe jumping the gun a little bit early. But if this thing starts to pull back, then I'll probably just cut my losses. But the devil is in the detail. And finally, for next week, I was a little bit hesitant to jump on this thing. I wasn't clear. I had a good week in the portfolio that I actually trade real money in, not the paper trading. I increased the overall portfolio value by 8.4% in 4 trading days. So that's pretty good. The Qs, which indicates the NASDAQ. So as you can see here, the NASDAQ has been on a tour for quite some time. I think there was a consumer report that came out a little bit on the high side, a little bit. The QQQ's barrier, the resistance barrier is 500. And it seems like it can't break 500. So despite being up a little bit today, as you can see down here, it got to 499 and it got rejected and it closed at 494. And it looks like this is going to roll over a little bit. However, as you can see here, this thing is well above the 200-day moving average, and we do not have confirmation that the MACD has crossed over into a divergence. But despite that, I took out what's called a bear call. So I took out a negative position. I think it was like 501 and 506. So I'm betting that, because I only stay in these options for a couple of days, by Monday afternoon at the latest, that the Qs will not rebound and go higher than 501. If they do, I'll start to lose quite a bit of money because I took out 5 option contracts on this. So my recommendation, no financial advice. When I say recommendation, I should clarify that. This is what I'm doing, is that I took out a bear call. I'm taking a negative position. I'm betting that the Qs will open up negative Monday and not go above the 500 benchmark, which I think is the ceiling right now. So it indicates that it may roll over. But the trend in the long run right now still is showing something positive. So I'm only going to be in this trade for a couple of days. So that's pretty much going to do it. I thought this would be an interesting topic to talk about President Joe Biden. It's obvious what's wrong with him. Believe it or not, I think a third of the voters are still think he's doing a good job. So cognitive dissonance, right? A lot of people have that and don't recognize it. That's why I try to open myself up on a personal level to find out. I pride myself in my relationships with my friends, or if I'm dating somebody, what makes sense? Remove my bad history, remove my good history. Who am I dealing with? Regardless of gender, regardless of race, what are you saying? Does it make sense? And even if I thought or went a different way on a subject, if you tell me something or give me new information to make a new decision, someone who's growing up but not just growing old will take that in and make the necessary adjustments, not only to improve themselves, but to improve the relationship with the person that they're dealing with. This was the Kevin Strong Show. Once again, if you have not subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this version of the Kevin Strong Show, do me the honor by hitting that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Make it a great day.